Hey, what's up, family? It's your man Mark Black, and welcome to the inaugural broadcast of Black Outcast Media Broadcasting. This show right here is the start. This is the beginning of what I hope to see grow into something huge moving forward. All right. So I want to thank all of you who are going to pop into the live broadcast, and also those of you who will watch it on the restream. Right. Before we get into it, just a couple of things I want to mention. Um, I want to set some ground rules, right? I want to try to keep this as flexible as possible, but I definitely want to make sure to set some ground rules. And the first thing that I want to note here is that I want to make sure that if you're watching, right, that you don't watch this passively. All right. I'm not interested in having a bunch of subscribers who are not active in what it is that we're trying to do here. What does this mean for you? This means simply this: like, share, and subscribe. Couple of clicks, don't cost you anything, right? Absolutely free. And it lets you participate. It lets you throw kind of your 2 cents, your backing to Black Outcast Media, right? So make sure that if you're watching or if you catch it on the restream, that you definitely like, throw up some shares, spread it around your social media. Trust me, I know all of you are on Facebook or IG or whatever the case may be. Show us some love on those platforms. And if you haven't already done so, subscribe. I've got a goal in the next 6 months of getting 1,000 black outcasts, black sheep, angry black sheep who are ready to get it in, right? Who are ready to help build their own place, their own voice here on YouTube. So you can help with that by just simply doing your part. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Or if you hate what the fuck I did, hit the thumbs down button. I don't care, right? Share and subscribe because those things are free and they're super helpful. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that at any time during the broadcast, because I will not be using AdSense for funding, I will not be dependent on YouTube to pay me, right? So if I'm ever doing something during a broadcast and you want to show some love or you want to support, I'm not doing Patreon either. Go ahead and click the link there. There's also that link in the description box too as well. Any amount counts and it's all appreciated. It all helps to grow this platform. All right. So make sure that you do that. So with that being said, I won't lie. I kind of stumbled a bit trying to figure out what should be the first topic to address on this new forum, right? Um, and then it hit me. Perhaps I should address why I'm doing a new forum to begin with, right? On my page, my old page or my old channel, Mark Black, you can definitely do a search in YouTube and find it. I did a broadcast on New Year's Eve where I discussed some clear reasons why I felt that it was time to move on from that whole scene, that whole side of things and start doing something new. All right. Primarily, though, the reason is because I was spending a lot of time talking to an audience that just simply isn't mine, right? What's my audience? My audience is those of you who are black folk who are social pariahs on social media, right? Maybe you doing blackness in a way that a lot of other black people don't participate or don't appreciate, right? Maybe you're LGBTQ. Maybe you're biracial. Maybe you're in a relationship or have dated or are dating somebody from a different ethnicity, all of which violates the pro-black code, right? But you still have love for your people. You still have advocacy for your people. You still want to be a part of your people. Well, this is the forum for you, right? I started this forum because as Mark Black on YouTube, I have spent the last 3 years talking about topics that affect black people specifically. Everything from politics to religion to relationships to economics and so on, right? But because of my marriage situation, I'm married to a pale woman, right? Or white person, um, I got discounted. I got told that my voice doesn't matter, that I don't get to be a face for advocating for speaking out for black people, right? And after 3 years of bumping my head up against the wall, in 2019, I decided to say, fuck it. I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it here with the same methods, the same words, the same voice, the same advocacy. Only this time, I'm opening up the floor, right? I took my name off the marquee because what we doing here at Black Outcast Media doesn't have anything to do with me specifically or with you specifically. It has to do with us because they talk a good game about unity until it comes time to actually build it. Then you hear crickets, or you hear deflections, or you hear excuses, or you hear somebody acting as a gatekeeper for blackness. I'm over that bullshit, and you should be too. So if that's something that you can ride with, if you can put your blackness before what else you are, no matter how you live or do blackness, this is the home for you. And I encourage you to reach out to me. Links there to my social media is in the description field. Also, there's the links to my Twitter and my Facebook. I'm going to be expanding also the Instagram TV as soon as possible and other avenues, right? We've got a lot of stuff that we can talk about, a lot of issues that we need to address, and we want to do it across all forums. And when I say we, I mean you and me. Because if you're watching me, obviously you vibe on that same thing. That's something that you have an interest in doing too as well. Okay? So, the first broadcast I wanted to talk about, the first topic I wanted to address on this new forum is I wanted to make some confessions. And I titled this broadcast as Confessions of a Former Pro-Black YouTuber. Now, here's some caveats. I am still for my people. Absolutely, 100% full-throated, unabashed, unapologetic advocacy for black people, which means that if you're white or pale, as I say, and you discover my channel and you come here, you are welcome here, but I'm not talking to you. If there's something that I say that you can resonate with, if you find a place where our interests align, fantastic. You're welcome to stay and you're welcome to even contribute to a certain extent. But this isn't centered around you. This is an interaction for black people, by black people, and of black people. Period. All right? So, confessions of a former black YouTuber. The first thing that I'm going to discuss, because I'm actually going to break these broadcasts up into parts, because trust me, after 3 years of dealing with the so-called pro-black community or the pro-black sector on YouTube, there are so many lessons that I learned that I could literally spend hours, talking about everything that I've learned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break each of these broadcasts up into parts. And remember, if you're here watching this live, make sure you pop into the chat and let us know you're here. You don't have to participate or ask any questions or anything like that. I just want to shout you out for the support. So let's get right into it. The first thing about being pro-black on any social media forum, but since YouTube is my primary forum, I'm going to discuss this primarily from the basis of YouTube. The first thing that you have to pay attention to as a pro-black YouTuber is how to do blackness, right? Because believe it or not, family, this is key. This is pivotal to being an accepted card-carrying member of the so-called pro-black conscious community on YouTube. Is you have to be doing blackness, but you have to be doing it a certain way. You feel me? So, what I came up with was 5 rules that seem to permeate the whole pro-black community on YouTube, right? These are things that are common across the board, across every channel, right? Okay, so the first rule that I discovered was that everything that is the opposite of pale people, as interpreted by us, is blackness, right? So in other words, what a lot of conscious or pro-black YouTubers, these woke people, do is they look at what they can see from the world of the pale people, of white folks, under racism, white supremacy, whiteism, whatever you call it.
Well, I was looking for.
Sorry about that, family. Got to turn off this stupid phone. All right, so they'll look at these different behaviors, these different actions, these different institutions, and things like that. And then they will posit that everything that is opposite of that is blackness, right? So if you see a white person or a series of pale people being brutal to a black person or harming a black person or defrauding a black person, then they will say that the opposite of that is what we really are. It's funny, it kind of is almost similar to a no true Scotsman fallacy in logic, right? Like, the first rule is that no real black person does insert whatever thing is here. You feel me? So the first rule is about establishing clear boundaries as to what they're going to argue blackness is. All right? That's important because you'll find that later on, as we look at other rules and how this community tends to operate as a whole, without gatekeeping a clear definition, no matter how flawed it may be, right? No matter how ridiculous it might be, of blackness, without having done that, the whole scenario, the whole shebang kind of falls apart. All right? So let's look at the second rule that I've discovered. The second rule is always hearken back to the glory days of the ancestors or shit on their lack of effort. I know, it sounds contradictory, but it's funny. They do it in different situations, right? If it's something about, like, say, somebody that they lionize, like a hero, like Nat Turner or Denmark Vesey. And this is not to say we should not reverence these brothers. Peace, Jazz. Welcome to the broadcast. Glad to have you here, right? This is not to say that we should not reverence these individuals, right? But they will speak about these individuals almost in a sense that they weren't people, really. Like, they never had any issues or they never experienced anything. I mean, and it's funny because in a way it dehumanizes the ancestors, right? Our ancestors wasn't heroes or devils. They were survivors, right? If you're a descendant of slaves in America, because that's who my primary audience is us black folk, the descendants of slaves here in the United States, right? Our ancestors, while they were many things, they were primarily survivors, right? They did, in a lot of cases, what they had to do to make it from day to day under a system of absolute dehumanization and fuckery. Some of them were able to rise to levels of rebellion, insurrection, uprising, and so on and so forth. But for many of them, it was biting at this system in little ways, like breaking the handle on a hoe or fucking up the cotton gin. You see what I'm saying? Like, not all of us were motherfucking heroes and kings and queens and shit. Like, it's crazy. They talk about, like, we was kings and shit in Africa. Like, they had nobody in Africa was a goat herder. Like, nobody before we were brought here was a motherfucking a millet farmer, right? Like, nobody was a leather worker. No, we was all royalty. I guess we must have left all the servant niggas in Africa, because if you let these pro-black motherfuckers tell it, all the royalty came here to the wilds of the West. That's what I'm talking about. Like, this strange reification, this lionizing this glorifying of a past that really didn't exist the way that they're making it out to be. Now, they either do that or they have the converse, where they completely say, we're in this position that we're in because our ancestors were some weak-willed, willy-nilly, jelly-back, bitch-made ass motherfuckers who couldn't hurt a fly. Right? So on one hand, we either make our ancestors like gods, or we act like our ancestors didn't do shit to help free us from this fucked up system in which we find ourselves. Another thing that falls under the second rule is that we should never ever fail to mention how we really truly are just temporarily dispossessed royalty. I can't stress that enough. This is why you constantly hear the references to peace, king. Now, if your name is king, or if you go by the appellation king, I will definitely refer to you as king. Why? Because that is how you refer to yourself. And I respect you, so that's how I'm going to refer to you. Do I see you as royalty? Hell no. We have no motherfucking election and I elected an emperor. I mean, I'm down if that's the type of governmental system us black folk want to live under, but we ain't done that shit. So what is it we got with all these people walking around talking about, what's up, king, peace, queen? Huh? We can't all fucking be royalty. You know what I'm saying? Who's the garbage collectors? Right? Who's the motherfucking carpenters? It's ridiculous, family. It's absolutely ridiculous. Right? But this is a key, important thing on how to do blackness as a pro-black, so-called conscious, so-called woke YouTuber. You have to either hearken back to the glory days of the ancestors, these mighty souls who were 10 feet tall and made from ebony wood and were bulletproof. Or they have to be these no good piles of shit who sold us out for nigga trinkets. You know what I'm saying? And the fact is we're just waiting for our turn to return back to the royalty that we descended from. That's important. The third rule of how to do blackness as a pro-black, so-called woke, so-called conscious YouTuber, the third thing that they tend to focus on, the third rule, is to make sure to talk about racism, white supremacy, whiteism often, but never miss an opportunity to blame black people for being victimized by it. Right? So if you look at the data, right? Oh, I'm about to put the snooze fest on right now. This nigga Mark Black is starting to talk about numbers. Turn the motherfucking channel off right now. But stick with me for just a second if you don't mind. If you look at the data, right, of 400 years of fuckery in this country, of chattel slavery for 245 years of it, for Jim Crow for another 100 or so years of it, redlining, convict leasing, mass incarceration, rampant defrauding and theft, burning out and destruction of our communities, and all of that shit, right? There is no group of people in this country, no other ethnic group, no other distinct group in this country that has had to face what we black people, we the descendants of slaves, have had to face. Nobody. Nobody. Not the Chinese, not the Japanese, not the motherfucking Irish, not the Italians, not the Germans, not the Poles. Nobody. Right? And that's all factual. That can all be established from clear evidence and records. All right? But then when we, the victims, the descendants, and the current victims of the current iteration of racism, white supremacy, whiteism, have any pathologies around our experience under this system, it is not because of the way the system is set up to ensure that we fail or ensure that we're defrauded, ensure that we're ignorant, and so on and so forth. No. We're actually actively aiding and abetting the system. See, bitch, you just bought that new Coach bag. It's bitches like you that's the reason why white supremacy still exists. Huh? Excuse me? See, if you niggas would save your money and stop buying Jordans and Xboxes, we could build an economy. All the data says that everything that we could have had to build an economy was stolen from us. That we literally have next to nothing as a collective. But you gotta make sure that you point the finger at another black person as to the reason why we still exist under this system. Why we still have to face racism, white supremacy, whiteism. Never fail to do that as a pro-black YouTuber. I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom, family. I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom. These are the jewels to help you if you ever decide, and dog help you if you do, to be a pro-black conscious woke YouTuber. Make sure to talk about racism / white supremacy / whiteism as often as possible. It should be punctuated and sprinkled liberally throughout many of your sentences in your broadcast videos, blogs, vlogs, and so on. But never, ever, ever let a good opportunity to blame black people for their victimization under it. Never, never, ever let that pass. Never. You see a black person who's a single mother. You the reason why white supremacy is doing what it's doing to us. You see a black person who's LGBTQ. You're an abomination. Your filthy European adopted ways is the reason why black people can't get nowhere. You see a brother buying a pair of tennis shoes. See, it's niggas like you that keep us broke. You see your sister buying a Coach bag or whatever the case may be. I don't keep up with that shit. But you see her buying a nice handbag or a nice pair of earrings. See, it's y'all the reason why we stuck under this system. Understand that it's racism, white supremacy, whiteism, but never, ever, ever pass up an opportunity to blame black people for it. All right? That's rule number 3. Rule number 3. Rule number 4. Right? And this is an important one because it actually kind of ties into rule number 1 in a sense. But this is kind of the completion of the circle in that realm. Okay? Rule number 4 is to make sure to look for ways to ensure that you exclude as many black people from your inspired, God or God's given woke morality, ethics, and culture as possible. Perfection or nothing. That's the rule. You can't ever have even thought about looking at a white person with some degree of positivity in your heart. Because you are a race traitor ass bastard. What you mean you like watching white YouTube videos about building houses and shit? That's the white man shit. Fuck you mean you like watching videos about broadcasting and about nutrition? Man, nutrition is a scam fostered by, big pharma to make the pockets of these rich white motherfuckers fat. The conspiracy theory bullshit is strong with these motherfuckers, man. Because remember, family, as a pro-black conscious YouTuber, excuse me, it's not enough that you see certain things. It's not even enough that you proselytize. In a sense, I'm proselytizing you, right? I'm trying to get you and I to identify together with our blackness to our mutual benefit. Okay? So I am attempting, in a sense, to proselytize you. If you're not already thinking that way, I would love it if you would think that way and join me in thinking that way too. Okay? However, if you do not think that way, I'm not here to castigate you. I'm here to educate you as my black brothers and sisters, right? If there's something I can say that will edify you, that will provide you with information that will help you better understand how we need to navigate this system under which we exist, And how we can do that together, I'm all for it. But you can't be like that if you're a pro-black YouTuber. If you're a conscious YouTuber, nope. It is about exclusivity. And here's the reason why that is. Because it took me a while to figure this one out. I couldn't understand how they kept talking about unity, yet you never saw any of that. Until I understood this. To a people that have traditionally been disempowered, disenfranchised, right? Disrespected, denigrated, denied basic humanity. Anything that will allow you to hold on to something to give yourself a bit of esteem or to esteem your collective is going to be desirable. This isn't unnatural for them to have this idea. The problem comes in, however, is when they become so enamored with their ideas that their ideas disconnect from humanity. Right? So it stops being about black people and starts only about being black ideas. And ideas combat other ideas as well as people. Ideas can get you killed, or ideas can save your life. So ideas truly affect our black lives in many ways. But if your whole goal at that point is to defend the edifice of ideas against any person, you are going to commit injustices left and right. You are going to find yourself in a place where you're excluding more black people than you're taking in. I truly believe that the way that so-called conscious, so-called woke, so-called pro-black YouTubers operate these days is that they're looking to do a battle royale until there's only one of them left who will sit there and scream at us over and over again about how they're the chosen one and we just too damn dumb, deaf, and blind to understand the reality of the matter. I really believe that. Because that is how all of them act. They will have these debates over minutia. Like they have debates on the pro-black side of YouTube that is the equivalent of arguing how many angels can dance on the head of a fucking pin. No bullshit. And they consider this to be doing God's work, doing the good work, fighting the good fight. Having debates over old hieroglyphic scripts and whether or not we actually have interpreted that shit or not. Or having debates over whether this type of oil is better than this type of oil. Huh? Like, you have been inspired. You have seen, right? Because all consciousness means is awareness, right? So you have seen some truths about this culture, this system under which we exist. Kudos to you. That does not give you license, however, to act as if that makes you in some way better than all of the rest of the black people who haven't seen what you've seen. Part of the problem with rule number 4, too, is it fosters echo chambers. See, I got this strange notion, family, and maybe it might seem strange to you too as well. But I have this notion in mind that you actually learn more from people's opinions, people's logic, people's ideas and premises that are opposite yours than you ever do from your own. I know, sounds strange, right? Why the fuck would you listen to somebody who doesn't think how you think or believe how you believe or has arrived at the conclusions that you've arrived at? Well, it's very simple. If I can understand how they arrived at their conclusions and how they think the way they think and how they operate and why they are the way they are, and I understand how I arrived at my conclusions and how I think and so on and so forth, right? Then that puts me at an advantage across the board. If you understand yourself and you understand your enemies, and that doesn't necessarily mean like, I'm quoting the art of war here. If you understand yourself and you understand your enemy, you will win every battle. Family, I've made it a point to read works by white supremacists, by out and out, dyed in the wool, full on avowed white supremacists and whiteists. I've read the Turner Diaries. I've spoken with neo-Nazis. I've read Mein Kampf. Why? Not because I necessarily agree with anything in it, but because it's imperative to know the ideas, to know the mores, to know the ethics, to know the morality of people who have made themselves my open enemies. I don't have the luxury of disdaining information or data about them simply because it's about them or from them, right? I don't get to discount science because white people do science. I don't get to discount, evolution because a lot of white scientists are talking about evolution. That shit doesn't give a fuck about your feelings, right? I don't get to disdain biology or motherfucking cosmology simply because white people engage in it. If these pro-black folk, these so-called pro-black folks, so-called conscious YouTubers had their way, it would be all black everything. Now, I will be the first one to tell you I'm black first. I put me and my people's ethnicity, our distinct lineage first. If you're a descendant of slaves, you're my tribe. Okay? Now, secondarily, I align my interests with black people all across the diaspora and in the motherland. All right? But my particular tribe comes first. But that does not mean that it is my particular tribe only. I am not necessarily looking to exclude individuals. I'm looking to include my own first. To care for my own people first. To advocate and fight for my people first. But I wouldn't have a heart in me if I didn't see that other people may need advocacy. As long as my people are struggling, my full advocacy is for us. I ain't gonna pull no Mark Lamont Hills and get up in the UN and die on a Palestinian hill. Fuck that. Right? That was dumb. But does this mean that I don't see other people's shit that they're going through or what they're facing or whatever? No, of course I do. I just got to take care of me and mine first. Just like they take care of them and theirs first. But with pro-black, the way that it's discussed, anything white is automatically discounted. Right? So if it came from a white person, I take that back. I actually need to give a proviso here, because that statement I was just about to make is only true to the extent that what the white person says doesn't support what they already believe or what their agenda is. So in other words, confirmation bias will allow them to go ahead and select white sources of material, data, information, and so on and so forth that supports what they already think or believe to be true. Right? So they come up with an idea that they believe is right or correct or whatever, rather than looking at the data and then arriving at conclusions. So they already have a preconceived idea in their head, and they're okay with cherry picking white sources. Like if for example, if you're a Hebrew Israelite, right? Y'all have noticed that when you got brothers and sisters that are talking about that we are Hebrew or whatever the case may be, nobody gives a fuck about them. But there's a channel on YouTube called Kingdom Preppers of a white dude who came out openly and said black people are the true Hebrews. And each one of his videos where he discusses black people as the true Hebrews has vastly more views than most of the black Hebrew Israelite videos I've seen across the board. Why is that? Same information, same dissemination, different face. Even in the so-called pro-black community, there is a clear understanding of a real sick idea that most of them would claim they don't hold, but their practices speak otherwise. And that idea is that the white man's ice is colder. Even as they discard the vast majority of sources of anything from whiteness, right, from the pale people, the sources that they can cherry pick that already confirm what they're already biased toward, they'll accept those. So I wasn't 100% correct on that. And rule number 4 demands perfection or nothing. So if you're a black person and you have a job, you don't have a job. You stuck on the plantation. Now, mind you, family, I'm guilty of having said the same shit. Because like I said, I'm a former pro-black, so-called conscious, so-called woke YouTuber. I have said that. Good luck, family. Be safe out there. Don't work too hard on the plantation. That's been your boy. No bullshit. Right? If you go and buy an object that wasn't made, designed, invented, created, maintained, and sustained by a black person, you supporting the white economy. Which means when you go to Safeway, UFC, right? You go to the motherfucking grocery store, nigga, you supporting white supremacy. Because black people don't have very many grocery stores. So never mind the fact that you have a real and true powerful need to eat sometime this month. Your ass is supporting white supremacy because you buying shit at the grocery store. Remember, perfection or nothing. And never, ever, ever let it be said that you used to like a white person. Oh, there was a show I used to watch on TV. I thought Brad Pitt was cute. Oh, God. You just committed a cardinal sin on the pro-black side of the house. You might be able to get away with admitting that at one time you may have had an interaction. And you better not be too lurid about the details, by the way. So if you have had any type of interaction, just leave it at the term interaction. You better not say they was your boyfriend or your girlfriend or y'all was fucking or dating. Just keep it as vague as possible. And you might be able to get away as a pro-black YouTuber with saying, at some point I have had positive interactions with white people. You might be able to get away with that. I know one pro-black YouTuber who has openly admitted that in the past she has had relationships with white folks. Now, no one currently questions her bona fides. And there's some clear reasons why, right? Because, I mean, everything that comes out of her mouth is black, blackity, black, king, kings and queens. We was quangs and shit. I mean, so there's clear reasons why no one's currently questioning her bona fides. So you might be able to get away with that. But if you are currently involved in a situation like, now I have my own reasons why I don't prefer to really follow the work of this individual, but Phil Scott from the Advice Show recently, and I don't know how recently it is because some people have argued that they've known about it for like 4 years, but recently it came out that his wife was a white Latina. Alright? And it was quite the hullabaloo because you go on his channel these days, you see, we ain't with that swirling shit and swirlers are killing the black community and blah, 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 right? So he was going kind of hard in the paint only to have, basically Bequitita, right, that he hid better than Bin Laden. Okay? So there was a little funk behind that, right? So if you love your people, you for your people, don't ever, ever, ever give the intimation that you might actually have some interest in, esteem for, respect for, care and concern for anything other than black. Anything. Or you're fucking done. Now, that takes me to the final rule. Rule number 5. And this one I love. This was, in my opinion, one of the most important, if not the most important rule out of all the lists. Sure, it's important to do your gatekeeping. Make sure you fucking with real black people. Whatever the fuck that means. Right? Sure, it's important to make sure to put the ancestors on a pedestal so high that none of us could ever even possibly stand on it. Or to dig a hole and bury the ancestors in like the pieces of shit they were. Oh, and never forget, you was quangs and shit, right? That's important. It's important to be like, white supremacy, racism, white supremacy, whiteism, racism, white supremacy as often as possible. While making sure you point the finger at as many black people as you can to blame them for what they going through under it. That shit's important. That is definitely important. And rule number 4, we discussed in detail because it was just absolutely pivotal to how to operate as a pro-black YouTuber, specifically on YouTube, but as a so-called pro-black, conscious, woke individual in general. But rule number 5, I would argue, is actually the most important rule because it is the one rule that is unstated. See, all of these other rules that I laid out, you can see the evidence for these other rules in their actions or their interactions with you, right? You can see clearly through their rhetoric that they think that everything that we are, white people, are not. Right? That pale people can't be just, can't be kind, can't be compassionate, don't have hearts, don't have souls, cave dwelling, scum sucking, 3-tooth having cousin fucking genetically deficient, bastards from West Asia. Right? And I'm guilty. I'm not saying anything on this list. I'm not saying I have not done or espoused at some point in time as a black YouTuber who called himself a member of the conscious pro-black community. I have done each and every last one of these things. So I know of which I speak. But that all of that was so that rule number 5 can come into operation. And rule number 5, the most important rule of how to do blackness and be successful at it as a pro-black, conscious, woke-ass YouTuber is to never do anything of substance or give real solutions to our collective problems. No. Rule number 5 is paramount. Paramount. You might run across somebody who doesn't operate under rule number 1, right? Who doesn't look at everything the pale people do as just simply demonic bullshit, right? You might find somebody who claims to be woke, conscious, or whatever, who can think at least somewhat positively about pale people, right? I do. I actually don't hate pale people. Like, one thing I think that fucked me up as a pro-black YouTuber was that I never even allowed pale people to be on my page. I never allowed their comments. I never allowed them to post. I never talked to them. I never gave a fuck about them at all. I didn't care about their opinions. I still, to some extent, have that to overcome. And the reason why I say I have that to overcome is because, not that I think they've changed any. They haven't. Pale people still benefit from the system that they set up of whiteism. And if they come here and fuck with any of us in the black outcast side of the house, we're going to be saying the same shit that you would hear from your pro-black sisters, brothers, from our pro-black brothers and sisters on the other side. So if you're thinking you're coming over here because we soft shoe it and we nice black people as opposed to the real harsh, evil black people over there, nah, we still on the same shit. Y'all still foul. Y'all still owe us justice. Y'all still dirty than a motherfucker. It's just that perhaps we may have areas where our interests align, right? I can't fuck with 90% of the shit that most pale people support. But there are areas in which our interests align, and in those areas where our interests align, we should have dialogue at the very least. And I didn't do that because as a conscious, woke, pro-black YouTuber, you can't be engaging with no pale people whatsoever under any circumstance. You ain't supposed to be having conversations with them. You definitely ain't supposed to be debating with them. You absolutely, positively cannot swap slobbers or even think about swapping slobbers with them. No. So we go from segregated as communities in the real world to come onto YouTube in segregated ass communities, and then we wonder why the status quo still seems to obtain. I'm not blaming us for that. It was pale people that set up these structures that make this shit possible. But that doesn't mean that we have to perpetuate it. But the most important thing to do for a lot of these folk is to never, ever do anything to change the status quo. As a pro-black, conscious, woke YouTuber, you may have a Patreon. Most of them do. Which is why I have no problem at this point asking people who believe in what it is that we're doing over here, Black Outcast Media, to support us. Right? You either can pay with your time, meaning watch the videos, click the links, share and subscribe, get other people to subscribe, or pay with your money. But this shit ain't free. And if they can get paid, why not me? But they will have Patreons, GoFundMes, and so on. Right? Now, let's say I'm eating the Reese's. Fuck y'all. Sorry. Good as fuck. Let's say that tomorrow, every pale person on the planet caught a virus. And this virus fucked with the brain systems that affect morality. And they woke up with a clear sense of the over 400 years of fuckery they put the descendants of slaves in this country through. And on top of that, with the willingness to immediately post haste and with every effort forthwith to make it whole, to make it right. How much you bet that a lot of these people that are woke pro-black YouTubers would be crushed to see that happen? I know it sounds counterintuitive, right? You would think that if we were being made whole, if justice was the order of the day, if it was Juba motherfucking Lee, you would think that they would be ecstatic about that. But I can guarantee you that same day you'd be able to click on your YouTube stream, your YouTube feed to these people that you subscribe to, and they would be talking about some conspiracy shit. Oh, they just fattening us up for the kill, family. This isn't real reparations, right? They're not really making sure that y'all can go to college for free and get free health care and pay no taxes for the next 3 generations or whatever reparations turns out to be. No, this is just a trick. This is the motherfucking reptilians in the government with the calcified pineal glands that's fucking... I'm not bullshitting, family. Justice could rain like water tomorrow in Fortress America. And these motherfuckers will not be happy about it. Because their whole living, their whole means by which they make their daily bread is to keep you frustrated, to keep you upset, to keep you angry. It's important for us to know when injustice occurs to one of our brothers and sisters or one of our children. It is absolutely important to know. But do we have to see constant, incessant streams of it all over, not pale media, but black media? Do I always have to click on a motherfucking video showing yet another one of us getting killed? Yet another one of us getting fucked over? Yet another one of us caught up in some trick bag shit? Another one of us out there acting in public, like savages and wilding the fuck out? I if you look at my subscriptions on my old Mark Black channel, I'm subscribed to maybe 3 white channels. All the rest of the content I watch is produced by black people. And yet, from some of the stuff I see on it, you would swear up and down that it was white folks. Black man goes on a trip to Greece, talks to a white woman in a bar, gets beat to death by 10 white men. And what do you see in so-called pro-black media, so-called woke, conscious, aware black media? You see videos titled Swirler's Delight discussing how that motherfucker was responsible for his own death. The behavior is disgusting. It's shameful. They don't show respect to differences among black people. No more respect than you would show a dirty dick dog. And what's worse is they claim to be for you and me. I'm not making this up. Take your own journey through the black sector of YouTube and see if what I'm saying isn't true. See if it isn't true how they shit on other black YouTubers who may not be. So our fight against whiteism is political, economic, legal, educational, right? It involves military strategy and tactics. It involves sexuality and a whole host of other things that fall under every area of human activity. Not every black person on YouTube, though, has the wherewithal in them to be able to engage this system on that broad of a front. You know what? Believe it or not, some of these motherfuckers just want to get on the internet and do makeup videos. And that's okay if they black and they get on the internet and do makeup videos. Some of these people just want to talk about their favorite stars. Whether they rap stars or R&B stars or, God forbid, they like electronica or ambient or house or trip hop, shit that white people music. If I wanted to come on YouTube as a black man and talk about my favorite metal bands, I done sold out. I done sold the black community the fuck out. See if I'm lying. Take these rules, these guidelines that they tell us on how to do blackness, and you tell me if I'm lying. You take your own trip, your own foray through the black sector of YouTube and see if I'm telling any falsehood. See if they provide us with any real solutions, like how to acquire land bases so that we can build safe communities with good infrastructure, clean water, safe schools, jobs, instead of trying to get us to invest in bitcoins and motherfucking whatever the flavor of the month is of black capitalism bullshit and aspirational garbage. Right? How about they tell us how to install raised beds in our backyard and how to grow our food organically so we know where our fruits and vegetables come from and we eat in our house? See, that would require that they actually do something about this woke knowledge that they have. And they ain't trying to do that. I know personally of one brother. One. And I respect this motherfucker so highly, he could call me a no good ass nigga to my face and spit on my shoe, and I won't get mad at him. Because this brother is as pro-black as they come. And he's opened up a school where he's teaching little black kids. And he did it himself. Well, okay. He did it with help, right? Nobody does anything by themselves. It was a collective effort. People contribute to him all the time. Shit, I wish I had the means to contribute to him. You see what I'm saying? Excuse me.
Sorry, I'm leaving.
Yeah, turn that shit off. I'm broadcasting.
Okay.
But I got respect for this brother. I got mad respect for him because he put his resources, his time, his money where his mouth is. He said that I'm for my people, that I want to foster life among my people. I want to foster growth among my people. So I'm going to start like educating the young ones, and he's doing it. But that brother is a unicorn. He's a fucking unicorn. Most of them won't do anything of substance. I'll prove it to you. When I was over in the pro-black sector of YouTube, right? When Mark Black, was this hardcore super pro-black advocate, I built an organization with the help of some individuals, such as the one that popped in the chat. Much love, T-Jazz. But I built an organization, a real organization, to try and develop a legal defense fund for black people. I got tired of us having inadequate legal representation whenever we go into the criminal justice system. And also, I got tired of not having any real advocacy for transformational policies and change in the legal sphere. And since I'm a trained paralegal, that was the perfect thing for me to engage with the community with. So we instituted the Black Legal Assistance Collective, or BLACK, which I thought was a dope-ass play on words. Nice acronym. Black for Black. Other than Jazz and myself and like one other person, no one would even give a penny. Here I created an organization, not just for myself, but for the collective legal defense of every single descendant of slaves in this country, every single black person. And I couldn't even raise enough to maintain the website. I had to let the domain go. I had to let the website hosting go because I'm just one cat. See, you can say whatever you like. You could talk about religion/spirituality. You can talk about arcane historical references and strange, weird alternative cures for different diseases and ailments and shit. You can propagate urban myths that were old back in our parents' generation. You can do all of that and be a successful, conscious, woke, pro-black YouTuber. But what you can't do, at least it's not apparent that they are doing it, is you can't take any of that and transfer it into real life, into boots on the ground. All of the black people that I ever saw on the pro-black side of the house that had boots on the ground, that was actually out there doing something, was black people that these black people say are not real black people, that they're race traitors and sellouts. People like Ghazi Kazo. This motherfucker went to a rally full of gay white people and shouted at the top of his lungs advocacy for black revolution. One of the boldest motherfuckers I ever seen. I'm not even certain as tough as I am. I think I'm a pretty tough cat. I'm not certain I'd have enough courage to do that shit. but he gay, same gender loving. So he's an outcast. My man Sean Scott, same organization with Ghazi Kadzo. Full-throated, unabashed advocacy for a people that should they get what he's fighting for them for, he would be doing nothing more than switching oppressors. There was a sister I knew who was lesbian, whose whole motto was boots on the ground. Her whole thing was about getting out into the community and actually doing something for black people. Isn't it funny? Us, the throwaways, the misfit toys of white supremacy, right? The ones that cannot be for our people were the ones that were actually taking all of this rhetoric offline and putting it into practice in our communities, amongst our people. Yet the so-called hardest, most ideologically pure, never even thought about white folk, pro-black, conscious, woke YouTuber ain't done shit. That's how you do blackness as a pro-black, conscious, woke YouTuber. Make sure that everything that you do is the opposite of what the pale people do, because right is good, or good and right is you. Pale people, everything about them is evil as fuck. Either hearken back to the glory days of the ancestors, right, and put them up on the super pedestal, right, or shit on their lack of effort, right? Because remember, whatever the reason, you're just royalty that's waiting to regain your throne. Make sure you talk about racism, white supremacy, whiteism, as much as you possibly can, but don't forget to make sure to blame black people in some way for their victimization under it, right? Make sure that you look for ways to exclude as many fucking black people from your morality, ethics, and culture as possible. It's either perfection or nothing. And lastly, whatever you do, make sure you do nothing, anything of substance, or give any real solutions to our collective problems. And I can guarantee you, you will not only find success as a pro-black, conscious, woke YouTuber, but hell, you might just find yourself on the front page. I mean, seeing as how at that point there would be really no difference between you and a lot of the white supremacists that make up YouTube. So family, I just wanted to drop that on you. Confessions of a former pro-black YouTuber, first part in a series, right? Because I want to clear the air. I want to let it be known why the hell I can't fuck with them. Because they made it clear in every arena they could why they don't fuck with me. Now I'm making it clear why I don't fuck with them. Unlike them though, my door is open. Once they decide they're ready to go ahead and be a misfit, a throwaway, a scallywag, a pariah like your man Mark Black, they welcome here. Their turn's coming soon enough. So family, until I speak with you again, it's been a pleasure. Remember, if you feel like showing me some love, there's a link in the description field. Throw some coins your man's way, whether it's now during the live broadcast or on the restream, right? I'm not going to monetize this channel. So if you want this to stay here, if you want more Black Outcast media, you're going to have to support it. You're going to either have to make sure you like, share, and subscribe, which you should be doing anyway, or support it financially. But this is going to have to be for us, by us. Simple as that. All right? And I love you, family. I always will, always have, always will. So until the next time I see you, I want to wish you all love, peace, prosperity, and power. Real power to our people.